welcome to Podcast vs. Player, episode 212. I'm one of your hosts, Cal, and as always, I'm joined by a man who told me Scampi and Lemon NikNaks are just Babe Station Freeview for blind people.
Can't use that.
Oh, what?
That's a great joke. You can't use that, surely.
It's only bloody Dan.
It's only me. Hello.
It's him. You alright, matey-o?
I am very well. Yep.
Good. Glad to hear it.
I thought I was going somewhere with that, but that's
did
as
as well.
much as I can. No, it's as much as I can give you, I think.
Fair enough.
That's what she said.
Hello. I'm not too bad.
I didn't ask.
No, I'm telling the general public, who
They
obviously
don't care either. They definitely don't care.
They're on the edge of their seats.
Yeah, ready to run out the door. Forget this. I'm not listening to this.
Thank God for duct tape. Tell you what, though, we got a lot to talk about, Dan. A lot to talk about.
Oh boy.
Over one specific subject, to be precise.
I don't know how much I could really talk about this, but
Why?
I don't know. We'll get there.
I've purposely held all of this in for this podcast, so we're definitely talking about it.
Oh god, it's like a horrible dark shit.
Pretty much, yeah. Literally.
It's going to tear you asunder.
The Dark Knight.
Yeah, I think I could probably talk about other things a lot more, but yeah, all right, get to it.
I don't like the way this has started, so I'm going to start. So get my
Yeah,
start
go
away.
for it. Go on.
So obviously, last Friday, The Batman released in cinemas. I booked my tickets in advance, booked a day, went and saw it. Very much enjoyed it. But I tell you what I enjoyed more, Dan. No fucker spoke. It
Wow.
was an excellent viewing in terms of, like, regardless
The
of
experience.
regardless of how good or bad the movie was, in terms of cinema experience, top banana.
That to me, that's always had. I mean, like whenever we've talked about films that I've had to go and see at a cinema, usually one of the biggest things is if it's loud or there's too many people there or something just out of the ordinary happens, that can tarnish an entire film for me, and it will take years for me to get over that and then just watch it at home and just be like, oh, it's actually all right, isn't it? I've hated it, but it's not because of that. It's because of that other guy that was
Who was
choking on a hot dog or whatever, something selfish.
Oh, no, I thought you could carry on. But no, let's see. Obviously, you saw it on. I can't remember. Did you watch it Friday or Saturday?
I think it was Saturday. Yeah, it was Saturday. Mainly, I had to go and watch it because one, I knew that we'd be talking about it on a podcast, and two, I heard people at work talking about it. Like, I'm going to go and see Batman tonight, and I was like, well, I'm definitely going to hear about that on Monday if I'm not careful, so I better go and see it this weekend. I wasn't planning on it, but I didn't want to have anything spoiled. And retroactively, I think there is only one thing that potentially could have been spoiled. So, in advance, spoiler warning for potentially the Batman.
We'll try and
but
do
there's nothing in it to spoil. You know the Riddler's in it. You know the Penguin is in it. You know Catwoman's in it. And you know that Batman is detecting. And he will have to, presumably kick shit out of all of them.
Yeah.
And that's
except for Catwoman.
No, I mean, I reckon he could have battered her.
Oh, no, he could have. Yeah, I think he physically could have.
yeah, but I just think it was... I think the trailer, which was still an amazing trailer, I think it hit the story beats. Like, you knew what you were getting into, tonally, story-wise, and character-wise, before you even went and saw it. Nothing happened in that whole film that I didn't expect. Other than... the one, but that's the tiniest part of it.
I do think that a lot of it, and for anyone that listens to any of our podcasts or any of our spoiler casts or anything where we talk about movies, specifically trailers, a lot of the time we will complain because we'll go, well, that's the entire film, and it is quite a big negative for a trailer. However, with the lackluster offering of DC movies over the last few years, I do think it was very important for them to nail the trailer with, this is what you're getting.
Yeah.
So there's no disappointment. If you go in and you don't like it, that's down to you and your poor taste in movies. However, but it's you know what you're getting. And I've seen quite a lot of people complaining because it wasn't as action heavy as some of the other comic book movies. But it wasn't billed as a comic book film. I said it to you the other day that I think this is way closer to 7 than it is the Avengers or anything like that.
And 7, as a sort of a cop detective movie, I love that. I think it's brilliant.
Film. Masterpiece.
Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt have just got such good chemistry. As these sort of one on the way out, one on the way up kind of detectives, and Kevin Spacey, the prick.
He was good back then.
Man, he was good in it. He's just such a chilling, awful person.
And it turns out he is in real life as well.
Zing.
Method acting.
But that is one thing I will say, and I'll defend every one of them. The casting and the acting in this was superb. There wasn't a single Jesse Eisenberg. What the hell were they thinking with that? Commissioner Gordon loved it. Paul, is it Dano?
Dano.
Bookham?
Yeah.
Bookham Dano?
Bookham Dano.
So, his Riddler, that has to be the bar for the Riddler from now on.
I'd say
because it's in my brain, it's always been, it's 60s
Riddle
Batman.
Me this, Batman.
Yeah, and it's funny costumes and don't get me in a fight sort of thing. This one, I was like, this guy's terrifying.
Yeah,
he genuinely feels like a threat that is, the normal police are just sort of what the hell do we do here? We can't even figure out where the clues that he's laying for us are even in the room. Do you know what I mean? And I think his delivery and the whole sort of it's when he's got his mask on, that's when he's alive sort of thing. And I know that the allegory is fairly, I wouldn't say it's been run down, but it's not a new thing to just be it's the mask, and the mask is who you really are.
Yeah, but I do think there's no character outside of Batman that rings more truer. Batman is Batman, and Bruce Wayne is the mask that he put. But that's more. Obviously, I think he gives into it, and he feels, because this is something that I've always been not disagreement with, but this is Bruce Wayne's and Batman's city. It's not. You just got a lot of money and you beat people up. It's not your city, but it's almost like he feels obligated to do it more, because he doesn't. He could just move away if he wanted to.
Well, that's the thing, and there's a lot of talk in this from the new mayor, it's sort of where have you been? You're rich and you come from a family of philanthropists. What are you playing at? Why aren't you getting more involved in this? And obviously, in his mind, he's I'm doing way more than you are, love. But that's the point. By the end of the film, he realizes that that's not enough.
Yeah.
He can't just run around and be rich and beat people up. He needs to be, a symbol. And they've touched on this in most of the sort of the live action solo Batman thingies. That he's a symbol of hope. He's absolutely not. He is just someone who will just turn up out of nowhere, batter you, and then disappear again and leave you all busted and broken in
with
the
no
cold.
repercussions.
Yeah, and everyone's just sort of genius. What a brilliant guy. But we see an almost human side of him, and people just sort of oh God, please don't hurt me sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then they're begrudgingly oh okay, I'll go with you, and then he leads the, and I was just that side of it, I think is really, really well done.
Yeah,
and I don't think
100%.
it's supposed to be an action movie. I think the fighting in it is good, but I don't think it's BVS where, and I mean purely the warehouse scene is in my eyes, other than Arkham, the Arkham Asylum trilogy, which is just sort of oh, why isn't everyone doing this? Yeah. That to me is that is the best Batman fighting I've ever seen. He's gadgeting, he's just nailing people through the floor. That is an absolute. He's sick of everyone's shit. He's been doing it for 20 years, and he's an absolute tank of a machine of a man. And that is what he's capable of. And I was just oh my God, just give me that all day long.
That scene is, and I think any time we talk about Batman movies in particular, we'll always come back to the warehouse scene. That's the best. That's the best 15 minutes of Batman of any medium.
I think it's in in Rogue One. Vader shows up, but he's in it a couple of times. But that scene, that hallway scene, where he just tears through those people, like that is just sort of like I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it because it's so well done and it's so
what always have in your head. That's Vader, and then
exactly
you finally see it. And when, like, what I liked about the fight scenes in the Batman with Mr. Pattinson is. Do you, I was going to say, do you remember? You definitely do remember. The episode of Watchmen was flashback.
Yeah, when Hooded Justice goes into that like Cyclops meeting room or whatever, and he rinses those fools out, like full on brawling.
Each fight scene of this film reminded me of that, where it's like in terms of choreography, it's very well done and everything else. But it's just so visceral and.
Yeah, he doesn't feel like he knows exactly what he's doing. Like he's still getting hit, he's still getting shot, and you know. And
there's still that bit with which was similar to BVS when in the warehouse scene when he gets stabbed in the back, and he's just like, "Rah!" and he just turns around and just batters the fuck out of him.
And you have a similar thing.
Yeah, he just like gets absolutely annihilated. And there's a similar bit in this when I can't remember if he gets stabbed or he gets shot. One or the other. He just turns around and then he's got the electric things in his gauntlet. And it's just like you can see in his face. He's like this close to fucking just frying him completely.
Yeah.
And like I will fight anyone that says Robert Pattinson's a bad Batman because he's not.
I don't
he's
think.
Excellent.
I think he's far more thought out. He's rather than he's just a cowl that you can just plop on anybody. You know, there has to be a difference. There has to be a nuance, and I don't think there has been really. Like they've all played out, even from your Keatons back in the day. It was just always. I don't know. I just didn't feel like like when there's like a new Bond, and you can look at Roger Moore Bond and you can look at Daniel Craig Bond, and you're like, these are not the same person. Like these are not the same agents or whatever. And it's the same with a Val Kilmer Batman, which is a bit more campy, a bit more comic booky, but 60s, 70s comic book.
Yeah, not good comics.
Yeah, exactly. And then you look at a Ben Affleck, and you just sort of like, oh well, they've stripped away like any of the actual like how his mind works. They've stripped all of that away, and he's the best fighter in the world. Yeah. That's all he is, and that's all he will be. And there's no more. And it's because again, they did him a disservice by not giving him a solo film or two to flesh some of that out. So when you have these kind of big punch-ups and stuff, you're not thinking, well, why is he doing any of this? Like, why is he getting worse and worse? Why is he murdering people? Like, all of these questions they should have been answered beforehand. You'd be like, oh, okay, well, I get why. You wouldn't even think about it when he does a flyby and blows a bunch of cars up with dudes in them. Because you'd be like, well, that's just who he is. But this Robert Pattinson Batman, like, whatever they do with him, I get it. Like, I get him. And I know, like, and thank God we haven't had another fucking scene with him having to watch his parents get shot again. And it's just like, thank fucking Christ. I swear to God, when the first half an hour of this film, that is some amazing stuff. Like he's just narrating, and it's just, and I mean the script's a bit sort of at times. It's a bit sort of
I do
feeble,
think
but
some of the writing of it is to fit in with like almost like a gothic noir detective movie.
So it's just like 40s serial drama.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the writing does lean very heavily into that. So it's like, I saw her on the corner about 4:30 a.m. There's a musk in the air, and
But that's like it's his verbalization of his diaries that he's writing out, and I think that's quite nice. Touch. Yeah, definitely. Like he's, this is how he's keeping track of everything, and this is how he's going to be better, and he's going to be, he's going to not make the same mistakes again. But there's a few instances where there's like a shoplifter, a graffiti artist, and someone else, I think.
Yeah. And
they're doing their crime, and then they see the bat signal in the sky, and then they just like look into like a dark thing, and they're just like, like I was just sort of like, after a while, when this is sort of like a myth and an urban legend, and someone has, gone, oh, is this Batman? Like he'll just come out of the shadows, and he'll just be on the floor with a broken leg, and you won't even realise what happened. Like this is just what's going through their brain.
Yeah, it's psychological.
Yeah, for sure, and like that has always been a big part of that sort of like fear. It's not just having amazing gadgets or whatever. He only uses two, to my knowledge. He uses a smoke bomb and a grapnel gun.
Technically, he tests out the wingsuit and fails and crashes.
Hated that.
I liked it, but I didn't like
that
the
as a
fact
setup to do something better. To be like, okay, well, that isn't going to work, and then have. Yeah. But that's the thing. He doesn't go with the wingsuit and then go, a cape is going to be way better. He's already got the cape.
3. He does the rappel down the building when he's running.
Well, I'm going to count that as the same grapnel gun. He's got a wire, but no batarangs, which I thought was interesting because like that's a classic gadget. No batarangs.
I like the fact the thing is magnetic.
What, his chest thing?
Yeah.
Like that, I like that it's and it's also like razor sharp and can cut through metal.
So it's
okay, sure.
All you gotta do is like get someone, grab the face and just slice the face off.
Yeah, and it's great for like when he works at Subway and he can like just sort of like shear ham off and just put it on his sandwich. But I think the suit is great. I think the music was great. I think the cinematography was great. There was so much about this, and I'm just sort of like, they had such a specific vision for what they wanted this to be and what they wanted to feel like, and they wanted this to feel like it's a scary dude that's jumping people in the street, and like the police don't like him and they don't trust him, and Gordon is the only one who seems to have his back at all, and he gets clocked in the face for his trouble.
It's like, could you not have held back? I did.
He's like, yeah, I did. Like, your eye would be over here, mate, if I'd have gone for your reel. But I think the Batmobile scene that's again, even though that's just sort of like one of the, it's his first one maybe, or it's like his trial version or his next version or whatever.
I think it's like
it's like a shit Iron Man suit. It's like, well, it's not got the missiles and it's not got a thing that can drive up walls or whatever, but it doesn't matter. Like that car chase. It's just a car chase.
Yeah.
But it's done in such a way. But again, there's no machine guns and shit exploding and lasers or whatever.
It's just
a well choreographed car chase.
All of it from start to finish. When Batman and Selina are behind that car getting shot at, and then the guy comes around the corner, there's nobody there, and he's looking around, he's just like, he just turn around, it's just a dirty fucking, I think it's a Dodge Charger or Challenger, I think, modified. But I think it is one of my favourite, like my favourite Batmobile is the animated series Batmobile. But all of the Batmobiles are
I still think that if you're looking at sort of like the silliness of like a comic book character that you're putting on a film, the '89 Batmobile is just it seems like it
looks like a car from the Jetsons.
Yeah, it's so overpowered and it's so stupidly designed that it works
which one
so
are we talking
well.
about? Keaton's?
The '89 one, the original one.
Sorry, for some reason I had in my head we were talking about Adam West. Sorry, but
but even that sort of like like in Titans when there's that version of the Batmobile that that looks fine. Like all you got to do is just modernise it a little bit and spruce it up, and that's fine.
At the time, that looked pretty futuristic at the time. I
imagine. For sure. It's got a rocket in the back. Sure, why not?
I do think the best Batmobile that Adam West was reasonably practical to a degree, except there's domes. That's just stupid. But
assuming that they're bulletproof, I hope.
Yeah, I suppose. But Keaton's through to Clooney's are all ridiculous. They're massively practical to drive around incredibly narrow streets of Gotham City, which is just
one of them can like shave parts of itself off though, and like turn into like a bullet. That's useful. That's him thinking, going, I keep getting stuck in all these stupid narrow alleys in Gotham. All I need is just my car to lose 50% of its size.
Instead of making it like really long and make it smaller, they just go, no, let's just make it so it can just cut bits of itself off. Like, yeah, great idea.
Sure. Yeah, brilliant.
And then Bale's it's just a tank, and whilst it serves to be more practical.
But it's supposed to be something that exists, like the military would build it. It would just be a super expensive and impractical way of doing it, but then he's just sort of taking the design.
But in doing that, I find it to be the most distanced from a Batmobile. Like that, when I think of a Batmobile, I don't think of the Tumbler.
That's true.
Whilst it's the most practical, and it's a fast tank and it's got weapons and it can do that, but it's not a Batmobile. And I think Affleck's is a excellent mixture of 89 and Tumbler. So it's got the practicality of the Tumbler, but it looks like a fucking Batmobile, like it should. And I still think that's my favourite one. However, I really like this.
I don't know.
Charger.
I think you're right. I think that like the Dawn of Justice, not the Dawn of Justice. Sorry, the like the BVS, like Batflex Batmobile. I think it's like it is. He started with something like a Keaton Batmobile, when he's sort of like in his younger days, and then as it just becomes more and more impractical to have. It's too long. Let's shorten it down a bit. Okay, well, let's put like a double revolving minigun on the front of it, and like let's have independent wheels, and then that can turn into like it looks like it's been built on and built on and built on for decades, and now it's just this sort of like perfect indestructible thing, which is what that whole sequence is about. Until he obviously hits Superman, and it's just like, okay, well, it doesn't matter compared to him, but like compared to like literally 80 dives through walls and ships, and just it does nothing touches him. And I don't get that sense with this one, but it feels like this is that car would get wrecked, and this seems like the sort of like meticulous. Okay, well, this element of it didn't work, and like I want to see, because like I know that they're doing like 2 or 3 more of these. I think I want to see every aspect of this. Like I want to see where all of it goes. I want to see Gordon become commissioner. I want to see what happens with this scary as shit Riddler. I want to see what this spoiler. I want to see what this new Joker is about, because again, we could be into the territory of like this was always the question that we had there, wasn't it? It was just like, is this going to be the best Batman film that's been made so far?
I reckon it is.
I really enjoyed it, and again, there's a lot of things that I like about this, but I didn't walk away from this in the same way that I did The Dark Knight.
See, but you know my feelings on the Bale trilogy, and
I just think that as a well constructed film, I just think that just works so well, and everyone makes sense in that universe there. But if this is if we're sort of side by siding these, which doesn't mean anything anyway, if this is the Batman Begins, yes, it's better than Batman Begins. 100%. It absolutely is. But then that means that if we're going, okay, well, really, people really like that. Let's ramp that up a bit. Let's have a bit more action. Let's get a Poison Ivy in there. Let's get Bane in. Let's Mr. Freeze it. Let's get some. Marvel did Mysterio, and he's a ridiculous idiot with a glass bowl on his head. Let's get Mr. Freeze in there and make him an absolutely terrifying menace as well. Maybe that's what they're doing. They're just going, right, Jim Carrey, he was a silly Riddler. Let's make him scary. Done. Okay, number 1, done. Mr. Freeze, Arnold Schwarzenegger. We can make him scary. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
There's that's according to Matt Reeves, obviously the director. Even though, again, we've already spoiled, but spoilers. Because the guy in the cell isn't the Joker. He will become the Joker. So at that moment in time, he's just a criminal. But Matt Reeves said if they were to do another one, that scene with the Joker isn't a guess who's going to be in the next one. The villain who would most likely be in it would be Mr. Freeze. That's who he wants to do. So as long as they get the green light to go ahead, which they 100% will,
they absolutely after this they have to.
It'll be Mr. Freeze.
This is, I think, of the new run since like post Man of Steel, like so this new universe. And I know that this isn't a part of any universe as of yet, but in terms of what they've been building so far, I'd say this probably is the best thing they've done so far.
This is the best thing they've done since. And Man of Steel through to this. This is the best DC movie.
Yeah, and I really like Man of Steel. And I think that but it sets up a different type of Batman, whereas this seems to be setting up what I expect from Batman, which is he's clever. But this is the thing, that there's a lot of it's so advanced where it's like insane cryptography and stuff. And Alfred's like, oh yeah, I used to do this all the time. Did you, mate? Did you? Okay, cool. Right, all right.
I can't do a Sudoku, but you know.
But like a good murder mystery, kind of like, I don't want it to be spoon-fed to me, because it's just sort of like, you know, you don't want to be treated like an idiot, but you also don't want to just sit at the end of it and go, I don't understand how you solved any of that. Like in I think it is in The Dark Knight, where his detective work that he does, he's like reassembling like the fragments of a bullet to get a thumbprint. It's just like, you're talking nonsense, mate. Like that. I don't have to understand how like ballistic forensic works to know that is probably horseshit.
Yeah,
so
that's massively. There's no way that could, like, all of the riddles and detective stuff he does in this are all perfectly plausible.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not like, I kind of wanted like an old Poirot episode where he'd have like the Penguin and everyone in a room, and he'd just be like, and here's how I solved the crime, everybody.
I'd rather it be a Columbo, and he's like, the police are just like, get the hell out of here, Batman, you're vigilante. And he's like, no worries, one more thing.
And then he's just like, here's this folder of evidence I've collected.
I used to love that with Columbo. Fucking hell, what a guy.
Yeah.
Peter
but
Falks.
like the whole thing of like, you know, there's this huge level of corruption, and like, you know, what's his face from fucking Transformers? I can never remember his name.
Optimus Prime.
No. Well, what's his name? He's been in a bunch of like Adam Sandler films and stuff. The guy who plays the Carmine Falcone.
Yeah. So I can't remember. I know exactly what you mean, but I can't remember his name for the life of me.
Yeah, but like this whole thing like centers around like him ratting out like a major, and like everyone at all these different levels all being into it, and him sort of like picking through these pieces, and like he's given a clue like by Celine, or like he overhears something, and then that changes his whole like, oh, it's not like he's thinking of like, you know, it's a rat with wings, and you know, it's like, it's a pigeon, no, it's a penguin, no, it's a falcon. Like, do you know what I mean? Like everything builds, and it kind of feels like it is unraveling as a real detective story.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe the more I talk about it, the more I end up actually liking it. Like, it's because I don't think I've seen him done in this sort of way before, because it's always just like ridiculous villain, and then, you know, he punches his way to the solution. He doesn't think his way there. He doesn't catch someone or outsmart someone. And like that whole thing with like when he's got like Riddler's got him in that like when they're talking through the cell, and he's just like, Bruce Wayne. Oh, I didn't get Bruce Wayne, and he's like, I'm surprised he was like, oh, thank God. Oh, I thought you figured out that I was Bruce Wayne. What? Like, I just thought that, like, that in itself was just sort of, like, because then all I was thinking was, like, how is he going to work this out then?
Yeah.
Like, how's he going to play this out? Is he going to have to kill this guy? Like, is he going to be insane? Like, he clocks the camera and he's just like, okay, what am I doing? How's my get out of jail free card for this?
That's what it built it up as, though. Like, you could see it in his eye. Like, the second he says it, and he's just like, the side looks at him, and then, like you say, he looks at the camera and stuff. He was like, yeah, he's definitely going to fucking kill him. And then, obviously...
Yeah, like, what's he going to do here?
As luck would have it, he bided his time a little bit, and it turned out that he didn't know. He hadn't uncovered that. But I say a lot of bad things about the Nolan films, and I do like them. I like Begins, and I like The Dark Knight. I'm not a big fan of Rises. But I still think Bale is not my least favourite Batman, but he's not my favourite Batman. And a lot of it comes down to, I don't like the Nolan suit. It still looks rubbery as shit, and I hate it. And the only two, even the Keaton ones, I'm not a big fan of the suits in general. However, I like Affleck's and I like Pattinson's. And for Keaton, even for Clooney and Val Kilmer, those suits fitted those films. They didn't look super great, but you know, even the Keaton's ones had a cheese factor to them in places.
Well, yeah, it's like when Robin gets the Robin suit.
Yeah.
And he's happy with it. rather than going, "Are you mad?
Yeah, the fuck's
like
this?
This is just a giant rubber muscle suit. No one's wearing this."
I would be more, what's it with when Chris O'Donnell gets the Robin suit, and Bruce is more like, I mean, for a 13-year-old, you're pretty big. Why are you bigger than me?
Yeah, he was ripped, wasn't he?
Yeah. But they fit for that world and those universes. And
this is before people started taking this sort of stuff quite seriously as they do now.
They were comic booky films.
Can you imagine that you did like a Keaton Batman, your 89 Batman, and it's all silly and, you know, Joker's Jack Nicholson and it's all wacky and music and whatever. And then the next one that came out was 5 years later was this. Like, people would just be like, this is the scariest film that I've ever seen.
The thing is, though, like, because everybody, and I love 89 Batman, I love Batman and I love Batman Returns, but everyone always goes on about, like, oh, they're so dark and gothic. No, they're not. They're Tim Burton, which is musically, like, there's a lot of music elements to it, and there are zany.
It's Danny Elfman, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, it's
like
yeah, and you got your wind up fucking penguins, and you've got dark elements to it, but it's still a silly film at times. There's no silly aspects to this, or even like Batman v Superman or anything like that. But like, I never thought Bale's Batman, specifically the suit, fit in that world. And they're putting it together, and they're like, you've got this, which is this failed army trial.
I don't know. I kind of disagree. I like the assembly of the Bale suit, that, like, you know, he's trading off armor, and he's, you know, it's like how everything has to have a reason to exist. Like, the batarangs are because of, you know, the shurikens and stuff.
100% agree. It's the outcome of it, where you're seeing all these stuff, and you're seeing him do the stuff, really, and then it puts it on, and it's just like, it looks worse than the fucking last ones.
The Batman Begins suit, like the first one he gets, that does feel a bit sort of like, you know, his neck's like this and he can't really turn and that sort of stuff. Even though I know it's like a set headpiece and stuff, but I think that the Knight Returns one, like, it's a lot more kind of like functional and stuff. I mean, in my opinion, I still don't think that there is a better one other than the base default Arkham Knight suit. Like, when you get that on, and like every single piece is like it's like a transformer, like it just assembles around him.
Yeah.
No, in Arkham Knight,
so it's like
game.
So you got like the flat.
It's like an Iron Man suit.
Yeah.
And it just like, and it's just sort of like, oh my god, that looks like it's so expensive. Like, it's completely impenetrable, and like, it's almost like that sort of like Bloodsport way, where you could like take off pieces and turn them into batarangs and stuff like that.
That'd be a good idea.
Right. But I think that with what they're doing and how they're setting this up, and that, like, this Pattinson suit, it doesn't seem like it's sculpted to him. It looks like it kind of like the first round of like the Daredevil suit, where it's just sort of like, you know, someone had made it and now you're kind of just wearing it, and then season, and then it just gets better and it becomes way more tailored to it.
Yeah.
Like, I reckon that the next iteration, like, we'd get a Batmobile that's going to be just an enhancement on what we've already seen so far. Because obviously, unless it explodes, that's probably what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's
upgraded.
It's not going to go from, you know, a car to a rocket nuclear powered, you know, Keaton Batmobile, or like
on it,
or a Ben Affleck crab monster that skulls around everywhere. It's just going to be a better car, you know. And again, it's not going to be a tank either. Like, he's doing things more maneuverably.
It might be on lease. So after every 3 years, he gets a new one.
Maybe, yeah. But like, when it blows up, like someone cottons onto this car that he's driving around it and hits it with a rocket and it explodes, then he'd be like, I need something that's rocket proof. Okay, now I need some armor on there. Okay, well, that car doesn't exist. I'll have to build that. Yeah. And then that's when, you know what I mean? So I think that I think that this is as like a foundation for, like, you know, villains that are like, they obviously don't go into a huge amount of you know, the Riddler's backstory, but more just sort of like, it's like a parallel to Bruce Wayne. You know, someone who's smart, someone who's an orphan and was just sort of dicked over, and he didn't have the money, and therefore he's just turned into a maniac.
Gave me a lot of Hush vibes.
For sure. Like, I'm so surprised that they didn't actually go, haha, it was Hush all along, and it wasn't actually Riddler.
It wasn't the Riddler. Well,
that would have been such a like no one would have got it.
There was a screen that had the words. It had the words Hush.
Yeah, it was when it was like the Thomas Wayne smear campaign thing. Yeah. But I thought, because at one point then they were talking about Martha Wayne was Martha Arkham initially, and that Arkham Asylum was built because of Martha Arkham. I was just like, are they going to do a Flashpoint?
Where did you learn that name?
Martha is going to be the Joker.
Potentially.
Like, imagine that if they were just like, oh no, she didn't die. Like, she's just been Mr. Freezed away or whatever. So he's the good guy, and it turns out that he's frozen the Joker. Like, just something like that, I could totally see as being.
I can see Reeves doing something as outlandish as
yeah, just like a complete turn on what you'd expect. Yeah,
but I don't think this film's perfect by any means. Like, I do just want to get that out there. However, in terms of, I think this is the best first Batman film. I think it's better than Keaton's. I know.
I don't think you can't really compare them.
No. But like, I mean, like, the Keaton film was great, and then Returns come out, and obviously they kind of lent more into the roles, and they had a better idea what they were doing, scenes and action, and even the suit. It was a bit more manoeuvrable in the neck and stuff. Yeah. And it's better than you can't include Val Kilmer and Clooney because they only did one apiece anyway. But it's better for both of them, and it's better than Begins. Again, finding the footing, so to speak, and Batman v Superman and Justice League, I suppose, count as.
I'd say he's in them.
That's what I mean. Like, but it's a better film. And it's a better handling of the character. And I think Matt Reeves, but I don't think it's better than The Dark Knight, because The Dark Knight is a tremendous film, but I hate Christian Bale. So, and I do think in terms of like Heath Ledger's Joker is great, and I still stand by. I don't think he's a good Joker. I think he's an excellent villain, and he's an excellent villain for that universe, but I think he's a bad Joker.
Yeah, I disagree. I think in terms of just being like a genuine, like, brilliant maniac, I think he nails it.
But that's not what the Joker is.
Jack Nicholson is an idiot maniac. He's got a giant boxing glove and a huge revolver and stuff.
That's just going like the '89 Joker is just Adam West Joker, but fits in a.
Oh my god! Those two next to each other, it's like, okay, he's a scary monster, and then you go, well, here's like, I don't know. We haven't really had sort of like an actually scary, like, cause I mean, like Heath Ledger's Joker, he was. Nah.
You haven't watched it, so you've got no fucking opinion on it.
What do you mean? I had to watch it. I had to watch all of them to watch the stupid last episode.
You did, yeah. Well, not including the last episode, but the Joker, it's not the Joker, it's Jerome, but throughout seasons 2 or 3, I can't remember where he started, up until the last episode, but the last episode's dog shit, so we don't include that. But he's a far better Joker than Heath Ledger.
I'd say that, like,
he's scary.
Like, I always see
dangerous.
him as, like,
Heath Ledger's is just a political activist.
Well, not so much. I mean, he's still, like an anarchist, sure.
Yeah.
But like it like someone who's like completely unhinged, I don't
think he's unhinged though.
No, that's what I mean. But that's I wouldn't see that Joker, and like it would be more sort of like I'm just sort of an in the way kind of person, whereas the Joker that I've always kind of had in my own mind is like for no reason, he'd just shoot you, like, yeah, and he had a bad dream, and bang, you're dead because you were just there. You brought up a cup of coffee, but he actually wanted tea, but he didn't say tea. but it doesn't matter anyway.
Drink,
bang, you're
hot
dead.
drink.
And he just beat you to death with it. Like that. It's that sort of like that sort of reaction that people have where they're just sort of looking into the shadows. Like, is someone just going to jump out and kick the shit out of me dressed as a bat? That same thing of just like if you saw someone just sort of like, or you just heard someone laughing and you just saw them like coming down in like silly shoes down the stairs, and you shit your pants because you just like, he's going to skin me alive and beat me to death with my own femurs. Like, that's the sort of maniac that I've always sort of had in my mind. That he's not a calculated kind of like, you know, he's more just sort of like, you know, he is the antithesis. Like, if you're having this, you know, perfect paragon of peace and whatever, then he's there to fuck it up. I need to just be, in essence, yeah. Like, I need to be able to go into a children's hospital and blow them all up or set fire to them all.
Which I don't get any of that from Heath Ledger's Joker. He's smart, he's calculated, he's meticulous.
But that's why I like him in that sense. That because there's like a smart maniac.
It fits. Like, that's what I mean. Like, it fits for the Nolan universe. It works really, really well. But if you put that Joker in Michael Keaton's Batman movie, or even in
he'd kill Batman.
The Robert Pattinson
with little issue.
and that's where I don't. And that's why I don't like him as Joker. I think he's an excellent villain, and he's an excellent Joker for that universe. But he's a bad Joker. And like you said, like, I want the Joker. I want the Riddler, but without the riddles.
I mean, but that's what I don't understand, right? Or at least that's what's got me thinking. Like, if if Riddler's kind of like the Aquaman for sort of like the mainstream public of just like, he's a bit of a joke, and he wears a silly suit with question marks all over it. What an idiot, and a cane. Ugh. And he's like a genuinely scary kind of fella in this universe. What in the fuck are some of the actual scary villains? What are they going to be like? I don't think
psychos, literal psychos.
It would have to be, right?
Yeah. I mean, in terms of, because I mean, Heath Ledger gets a nice easy run because there's no other ones to compare him to. Like, I mean, outside, I mean, I genuinely like Cameron Monaghan. I think he's an excellent Joker, even though they specifically say he's not the Joker, but they take a lot of the stuff. I mean, even fucking stapling his face back on and
like it's cowardice. That's all it is.
Sorry,
it's cowardice. It's them not committing to the bit.
Yeah, 100%.
They're saying we'll put the Joker in, but if they do that and they take the gamble and they put him in, and everyone goes, "That's the worst Joker I've ever seen," and go, "Well, actually, it's not the Joker.
It's not the Joker." And he was very good. He was good, and I did get that sense that. But they did the let's just do every face of the Joker that people recognise, and every type of Joker. There's a maniac laughing hysterically, and then there's like the calculated mob boss kind of. Like, they did it all. Like, stick to your fucking guns. Yeah, they
choose one.
They mix through every iteration, live action at least, that we've had, and in particular when he staples his face back on, that's fucking years down the line in the comics.
Yeah,
and stuff.
It is, and like again, it's because they haven't got anything else to prop that show up.
Yeah, I mean,
because every week they all have a gun on each other, and then they all refuse to shoot each other because they all make a deal to protect each other, and then they backcross every time. Like, that's why I was never concerned that anyone was ever going to die in that.
I think Gotham definitely got, like, season 1's awful, and it is, and it is like anyone. I actually said it yesterday to someone, and they said, "Oh, I've never seen Gotham." I was like, "If you're going to watch it, Wikipedia season 1, and then start from season 2, because season 2 is where they just go, fuck it, it's a comic book thing. We'll get Zaz in there." We'll get some rendition of various characters throughout, and they just have a lot more fun and get a bit more looser with it. And I think makes the show better. Not amazing, but I enjoyed it all the way to the last episode, which is dog shit, and I don't recommend watching that to anyone. But I have an argument quite a lot with about Bale's Batman, and obviously I love Affleck's Batman, and I think it's a shame we never got to see him in his own film.
Well, I think it's because we never saw him as Bruce Wayne. We never saw him Bruce Wayning.
We did, just not a lot.
He was No, he was just always in Batman
he was
mode.
still Batman, yeah, just without the cape.
He wasn't in the costume.
Yeah.
He was just doing Batman stuff. Like, we never saw him go into a boardroom meeting. We never saw him go into a funeral. Like, you know, they've taken great steps to like separate out. Like, this is what Bruce Wayne is, but no one likes him, and he seems like he's so focused on his other Batmaning stuff, and it like Alfred's is just sort of like, yeah, there's definitely more you can do, and he's like, nothing is more important than what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. Like, this is me helping. Where obviously everyone else who's got a brain is just sort of like, yeah, but you've got billions.
You're literally a billionaire.
Yeah, you could do a lot more with that than just make fancy cars and knock people off the road and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's because you're deranged as well. But, you know, they're selling this kind of like lighter side of him as well, that he's not just a maniac who's running around beating people up. But then he doesn't have this sort of like complete polar opposite of just sort of like, you know, Bale-wise, like he's just turning up with 3 different models
different
on his arm.
Prostitutes and catching VD and.
But like, I can't see him getting to that point either.
Well, that was always my biggest problem with Bale's, though. He managed to have it never seemed like a mask, and it seemed that Batman was one half and Bruce Wayne was another half, and it's not. It's Batman with Bruce Wayne to cover the other identity up, and this is and you mentioned it the other day with the difference between the Batman and Bale's with it obviously rounds up with Pattinson's Batman is hope that Gotham can turn itself around and we can be saved and this and the other. Whereas Bale's they turn it into he's a symbol, and he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna go and live in France. You do what you want. And he's like, well, no, because he wouldn't give it up.
Yeah, that's his whole deal, right?
Yeah, and
he doesn't kill people, and he'll never give up on Gotham. That's his whole shebang.
But he does both of those things. He effectively kills Batman and leaves Gotham and.
Well, he kills.
No, as in like he's not going to do it.
Ra's al Ghul.
No, he doesn't. He just doesn't save it.
That's the same thing. In a court of law, I'm sure that like, if you had the opportunity to save him, that's like you saying like, oh, I know how to do the Heimlich maneuver.
I'm not going to do
like,
it.
I've been trained to do the Heimlich. But so I see someone choking and go, well, I'm not going to kill you. I'm not going to choke you with my bare hands. But I'm also not going to do that. Yeah. And if you tell that to that person who's like, I'm just going to let you die, I'm fairly sure that if they managed to cough that up, they could press charges. I'm fairly sure that they could do.
I mean, we live in a world where burglars can injure themselves breaking into your house and sue you, so
that's true. Yeah,
so I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, like I think Pattinson pulled it off a lot more. Finding himself, not the hero taking the film to find himself. He already knew what he was doing and everything else, but it took him till the end of the film to become that symbol of hope for the citizens of Gotham. And Bale didn't. The symbol thing never. I didn't like it when I saw it, and I still don't like it now. And whilst I do like the idea of it, I think it was done a lot better in this than it was in the Nolan ones.
Yeah, it's you just don't see him doing like any community work.
No,
like it's always like he's going after the crime lords, he's going after whatever, but I think it's been a while since I've seen all of them, so I could be very wrong on this, but like Spider-Man is always like, he's a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and it'll always give you a little montage of him just like there's a robbery in progress, there's a bike thief, there's a shoplifter, there's a little old lady who needs help crossing the road. He'll chip in and help out because he's just like, he's a local kid helping out.
Yeah.
And I got the sense of that with this, that like even just someone graffitiing, they're like, he could just come for me. Yeah. That to me suggests that it's not just like, they're like, pff, pff, Batman, he's not, pff, what?
He's not.
There's like, like huge drug dealers and whatever out there. He's not interested in us whatsoever. Like, everyone's on edge, right? Regardless of the level of crime. Like, he could come for you at any point. But then, seeing him kind of like, save that dude in the subway, and like that guy's just like, oh god, please don't help me.
What's
please
that
leave me
kid?
alone.
Tim Drake from Titans. You know the lad when he's got the half paint. I was meant to look it up and I completely forgot.
I recognise him from something.
I'm sure it's Tim Drake from season 3 of Titans.
Do you know what? I think you're absolutely. Now that you've said it, I think you're absolutely right. Because I was in season 3 when Tim showed up. I was just like, okay, cool. There's like, he looks like he's a, kind of like not too young but not too old. He's done the normal Tim Drakey kind of stuff.
Yeah. And he's figured out his identities and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I was meant to look it up on Friday and I completely forgot until this very second when you mentioned the subway.
As soon as you said that, in my brain I was just like, I think you're right. J. Lucago. Yep, it is.
There we go. So it's also got Tim Drake in it.
If you wanted to make a loose interweb connection thing, you go, okay, well, he was thinking about joining a gang, and like he stops that guy from shooting.
I mean, although Bruce is a lot older in Titans, and Tim Drake's seemingly the same age.
We haven't had. When was the last time we had a Robin, like an actual Robin?
I mean, Jason Todd in Titans.
No,
in the movies, Chris O'Donnell. The only one.
So that was what, 20 years ago?
Maybe a bit longer.
So?
I want to say 90.
Maybe a bit longer.
96, maybe.
And there's been like obviously Titans has probably done, quite good work for the Robin name and making it go. Oh, okay, well, Robin isn't just an idiot in little spandex tights or whatever. He can actually be a cool, useful leader.
Fuck Batman.
Like, yeah, I mean, maybe not that.
That was a bad line.
After that, yeah. But I reckon that maybe this is, you come across another, amateur detective, sort of on that sort of like, because the way that he was like looking at that kid after that dude was killed, and he was just like staring at that kid, and he's just like, it's just so obvious, and it's just like, yeah, that was me. Like that's as hopeless and as useless as I felt.
I've got to help
when that happened to me. So all that you need to do is just him to just come across someone else like that who's just completely fallen apart because their parents have just been killed or whatever, and then boom, you've got yourself a new Robin.
Do you think they'd go down?
And I reckon a Robin in this universe would be as scary as he is.
Do you think this would be the one? Because we had this idea that when in the trailer for Batman v Superman when Affleck's running in, it's soon during the fight with Zod, and there's that little girl. Maybe that's Carrie Kelly, and that's the Robin.
Yeah, that would have been a nice thing. Yeah.
Do you think they'd go down this route for this one?
And that kid is actually.
So they'd have not necessarily that kid, but like they'd go down a girl route and have a female.
I would
Robin.
prefer it if they did, because obviously they've with this Jay, whatever his name is, that's a black guy who's going to be Tim Drake, who is traditionally white in the comics. And there's a lot more push for, rightly so, I will say before anyone says anything, to include more persons of colour, more female roles and stuff like that, to try and actually diversify for a change. But even if they said that the guy who plays Tim Drake in Titans, like he was, in that fight, and he stops him from using the gun, that whole thing just caused him to just reevaluate his entire life.
Yeah.
And then that's the new Dick or whatever. Then, yeah, absolutely, I'd be totally on board for that. I mean, I think that because Carrie Kelly's like, she's so far down the line to go, oh, it's like year 2, year 3, year 4 Batman.
Yeah, I mean, it makes
is Carrie Kelly and miss
Dick Grayson,
like Dick
Jason Todd,
like
everyone.
Literally, like how he becomes like a better father and a better teacher and whatever before he gets to the point of begrudgingly taking on Carrie.
Yeah, that's the back and forth though, isn't it? Like in The Dark Knight Returns, this is a 60-year-old withered, angry, tired Batman with a bright and chipper little girl Robin who's just like the exact counter.
Everything
opposite.
is just like, oh my god, it's the Batmobile. Oh my god, it's a Batarang.
Yeah, and that wouldn't be the same with with Pattinson's Batman, and I think he'd be as miserable as old man Batman.
I'll give you that. He's a very miserable fella. This guy.
And this is one of my not a major gripe, but like I get what they're going for. This is year 2. He's still getting over the death of his parents. He's tortured, and I don't give a shit about doing any of the Bruce Wayne stuff. I'm Batman, and I'm going to save Gotham doing this vigilante stuff. But man, did it come across as emo at times.
It did a bit with his flippy hair as well in the rain.
And
it was a little bit.
And I know that is I mean, obviously, I don't know definitely, but I'm fairly certain that's exactly what they were going for with this version of Batman. And I think we did say when we did the trailer breakdown for well, not necessarily trailer breakdown, when we did a discussion on the trailer for this film, that I love that he's still got the makeup on, the eye makeup on. He takes the cowl off, and that's another thing I hate about Bale's. The one under Bale's suit was so obvious and so thick and like jet black, but then you take it off and then there's nothing there. It's like, this is just really nice little touches like that they don't need to put in. They haven't done it for any of the other ones, but it goes with this dirty, grimy, disgusting Gotham.
Yeah, because he's like he's still he's out of the cowl and he's sort of Bruce Wayneing about, but he's still got it on.
Yeah,
like he's just ready to put it back on in like a moment's notice, or like he doesn't care enough about his own image outside of being in the cowl that he'll just go scarf up.
Yeah,
and I don't care if anyone sees me or whatever. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
like I'm on the mission. Yeah, and that's the most important thing. Like there is no separation between him and the cowl.
And that's what I meant with Bale's one, where it was literally a 50-50 split. And I dare say, as time goes on, the Pattinson's Batman he'll learn that he'll have to, because there's got to be a Bruce Wayne presence. But
Alfred will force him to do it.
Yeah,
he'll just be like, you can't just hide in your house all day, and people will start to ask fucking questions.
Yeah,
it's like there's someone coming around, like an accountant or whatever. He's like, oh, I'm not interested. Yeah. Like he'll have to cross that bridge, otherwise he won't be able to explain away why he's not doing anything. Because you go, oh, he's running a business. That's why no one sees him anymore.
There's the money.
But he needs it for cars and rockets and
no. But so that's what they can't. To be like, so what's happening with the money? Like, who's looking after the money? Because that's our job.
You don't. You get that fellow who would just be like, all like half your money's just been like funneled into like weird research projects and stuff. Like, are you Batman?
Tell you what, it's one thing that this film doesn't explain either. But how come in the ginormous Wayne Manor, even before Martha and Thomas are killed, why is that literally only Alfred?
As service staff?
Yeah, it's like a place that big for billionaires, and they've got one person doing all the cleaning and cooking and everything else.
I presume that they've got like a gardener and probably like a maid or two in because because they do that in.
Oh no, it is in Begins.
In Rises as well, like when he's just sort of like he's old and busted, and like all the service staff. Like that's how Anne Hathaway's Catwoman sneaks in. Like she's just in a maid's outfit.
I thought that was just for like
there was like a party or something.
Party thing. I don't think that.
Do you mean like a staff that was hired to cater to the party?
Yeah, that live there. Like I think those people.
Oh, I see.
Anne Hathaway and that were there because we've got 400 people coming, and we need people to serve food and stuff. Like,
right, I'm with you.
But there's always like Thomas, Martha, Bruce, and Alfred, and that's it.
Well, maybe if like the point of it is that Thomas and Martha weren't the sort that needed to be doted on. They were busy and they were involved and they would do things
enough to have a butler.
But you'd still need a butler just to answer the phone and the door when you can't be asked, maybe. And all he's got to do is just play the long game. It's just like, I know for a fact they haven't hired any of the staff, don't have any other mates. As soon as they all die, all of it is mine.
Have you seen that?
Like, he hates them all. He hates them.
There's a theory.
But he wants the money. That's it.
There's a theory on Reddit about, because Alfred's got like a 7-figure salary, something like that, and there's a theory.
I tell you what, I would clean a billionaire's house every day, all day, for a 7-figure salary. Are you crazy?
I'd do it for just a one-off 7-figure, just a 7-figure payment.
I'll come in, I'll do a deep clean on the weekend, and then you'll never see me again. I'm moving to Jamaica.
But no, there's a theory that it was Alfred that hired the killer that killed Thomas and Martha. There's no logic behind it.
I mean, if he's... No,
he doesn't
why
need
would
the
you
money.
kill your employer?
He doesn't need the money, and now he's got to raise a kid.
And presumably he wouldn't have the content of the will either.
No, because it'd go to Bruce.
So if they all got shot, and then... Yeah, exactly. But if he was the only one that was named in it, and then he decided to give him all the money or whatever, plausible, maybe. But no, bullshit.
Nah, is it?
Plus, if that was the case...
They were friends anyway, weren't they?
Why don't you just Paul Burrell it, squirrel all the silverware, and fuck off?
That's a name I haven't heard for a long time.
No one has. You're welcome, Paul. Back on the map.
Hashtag.
Hashtag bring back Burrell.
Horrendous. Anyway, so we haven't delved too much into it, but on a scale of 1 to Bale, how do you rate Mr. Pattinson as a Batman? Not literally a scale of 1 to Bale. That was just a silly play on words. Actually, not numbers. Live action Batman's favourites, movies.
I'd say probably a Bale and a half.
A Bale and a half?
So, Affleck being at the tippy top, Bale beneath that, and then so on and so on. I'd say Bale and a half. So, probably not as good. I reckon that if they do another one that's the same kind of calibre as this, but they have like another, like if they do go down the Mr. Freeze route and they make a fantastic Mr. Freeze and they have Batman do more Batman-y stuff and you give him a better Batmobile and you give him more gadgets and all that sort of stuff, I'd say easily this could be the best like series of films that they've made so far.
I'd agree with that.
This is an outstanding stepping stone to get into the next one, and like historically, it's kind of gone down that way as well, hasn't it? Like, 89 was good. Forever was better.
Returns. Don't you dare
Returns.
say that.
No, sorry. Returns was better. You know, Michelle Pfeiffer and Danny DeVito and that. Then Forever, I'm counting that as a new step, and it was
awful.
Yeah, but then nothing really came of it, and then you get the Clooney.
Batman and Robin.
No, because there was Batman and Robin. Sorry, wasn't there?
That was Clooney.
No,
there was Batman 89, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, Batman Begins, Dark Knight.
Jesus, I thought there was another one after. No, there wasn't, was there? But then, like, we didn't get anything like really quite solid, like an actual real serious movie until Begins, and then the Dark Knight was as a jumping off point from that was better because everything had already been established in that first one. So where this one is going, I kind of wanted to do like the the Arkham Origin story, where like Black Mask hires like 8 like amazing assassins to just kill him and just all set in one night again, and it's just him just sort of like fighting off all these one.
And it's more.
That'd be incredible.
It'd be more grounded because you could have a lot of the hitmen and stuff would would exist in this Batman, in this Reeves universe.
Yeah, with this state of Gotham, yeah, they'd absolutely be knocking about.
I don't think it would have the same impact as, like, if you did that in a show. If this was like a HBO series, where not like villain of the week thing, but where we get an episode where we've got Deathstroke, we get an episode where we've got Zaz, we get an episode where we've got these through like a few, maybe 1 or 2 seasons, and then the next season is that. So we've got all these people, so you get excited when you see that person coming for Batman, and obviously by this point he's been doing it long enough that it warrants a massive fucking bounty on his head. But I think Black Mask could be a good addition to this universe by far.
Well, with what they're doing with, because there are some HBO shows that are coming. There's like one based on
the Penguin and Arkham.
Yes,
the Gotham GPD series and the Arkham series have been mashed into one. series.
Well, that's
now.
what I mean. Like your Arkham, if that's going to be your origin machine, and you just go, right, we've got a new invade, boom, poison ivy. Right, we've got another invite, guys. Where's Mr. Freeze? Like you could pour them in and build them up and make whichever one's interesting you want to.
What if it's a bit of a red herring and it's about Martha?
Oh, I swear to God, if they go, it's an Arkham show, it's based in the same universe as the Batman, except it's set 50 years beforehand and Martha's the first patient, I'd be like, fucking do one. It's just like, it's run by the Penguin's dad. I don't care. just do it properly, for fuck's sake.
He wasn't dead after all.
Yeah.
But I'm going to wait and see. I'm excited to see a bit more of Colin Farrell's Penguin. I think he was.
Yeah, he was ace.
He was very.
Honestly,
good.
I cannot fault a single person. Like there was no weak links in this whatsoever.
No, I wouldn't say so. I still think
best Catwoman.
Sorry.
Best Catwoman, easily.
Thing is, and again, I had this discussion with, like, Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman is good, but she doesn't do anything.
Well, she's like a magic Catwoman.
But that bit I could take it. It goes into a bit fantastical with how she gets her powers and stuff. But
it's the same as the Halle Berry one.
Yeah,
it's
which
like
is
you just
good for anyone.
Brought back to life by a magic cat.
But
sure, but that's not the point of Catwoman. She's not a magic cat lady.
That's what I mean. And to be fair, you got the one from Adam West. You've got Michelle Pfeiffer. You got Anne Hathaway, and you got, I can't remember her name off the top of my head now. Apologies, but
Halle Berry.
No, from the Batman.
Zoe Kravitz.
That's it. Oh, and the girl from Gotham as well. And I'd say the girl from Gotham and Zoe Kravitz are way closer to what Catwoman should be, specifically the Batman version.
Yeah.
And Michelle Pfeiffer's just remembered. And they go, Michelle Pfeiffer, she was a fantastic Catwoman. No, she wasn't. She was just a girl down on her luck, and then she got licked by cats, and now she's sexy. And that's all it was.
Cats.
You know what I mean? No, they lick all the wounds and stuff, and then they nibble on her and whatnot. But
I thought they were eating her.
No, they do after. But like it starts off, she's like nom, 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 nom. But she doesn't do anything except for that. She does them backflips, and then the building explodes, and she goes meow, and it's like eat a dick. But like, this one, she's clearly capable combat. She's clearly a good thief, and that's the only thing.
Very good.
That's the only thing that Anne Hathaway's had going for her was she seems to be able to nick things. Great. Oh look, she's got this weird headband thing that's got pointy cat ears.
Commit to the cat ears or shut up.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I think Anne Hathaway's a good choice, but I think she would have been a better Black Cat in Spider-Man. But yeah, this Catwoman was excellent, and I do think not in terms of movies. I think Affleck's still my favourite Batman. Then Pattinson, then Keaton, Bale, Kilmer, Clooney.
I'd probably agree with that, except I think that when the next one of these comes out, it is going to turn that tide, I reckon.
Yeah, 100%. Like, this is real close.
Like,
this is close.
Because this feels like it's a bit more of a kind of like almost like a fan film, because like it's very well thought through, and it doesn't feel like it's got an enormous budget, but it does a lot with what it's got. And then if they get given whatever they had last time plus an extra 100 million, and they go, let's have some mental, like, it's Mr. Freeze and he's freeze raying half of Gotham.
Yeah.
Like, that's expensive to do that sort of shit. So he's got to do. He's built a Batwing, and now he's got anti-freeze grenades or whatever. Like they'd have to ramp up like his way of dealing with a threat. Like, you can't outthink someone like Mr. Freeze. He's very clever still, but his whole deal is just freeze bombs.
It'd be interesting to see how they do
freeze everything.
Because Reeves has already said
it would be an emotional story. Because I reckon it would be like what they did with. It was a DLC, I think, for Arkham Knight. Where it was just sort of like, he wasn't really a bad guy in it. He was just sort of like it's just, it always comes back to Nora,
Yeah.
and like, you know, trying to make sure she's okay. And it's just like everything is just sort of like as a consequence of that drive. He has to rob a bank to get money to build a machine to do a thing, so that's what he's just going to do. Batman's just in the way, so he'll get rid of him. But when it came to like, you know, like he stepped up at the end of that and like saved Gotham, I think.
Yeah, he helps out for that. But it's like Reeves has already said, there won't be any like fantastical elements to this movie. So there's no magical powers. There's no I can't think of like any specific characters, but like I don't know how you would do Mr. Freeze without the science, ridiculous, he needs this suit to stay alive kind of thing.
Maybe like a climate change thing. He's just sort of like, you know, he's got a satellite that can control the weather. He's going to bring an ice age that'll sort the global warming out. Yeah, you could throw a couple of lines like that in there, I reckon, as well. Yeah.
I think it's a good choice.
Yeah, fair enough. You probably couldn't give him like a huge robot suit and a giant gun or whatever. But
I mean, they managed it with Bane.
Like, cause
Bane was a character that realistically shouldn't have fit in the Nolan universe. And
no, that's very true. They just stripped away how he got strong. He's just strong.
Yeah, they stripped away the venom toxin and gave him asthma. So.
Just a powerful.
But it worked though. He was just a massively strong guy that obviously he did have the breathing apparatus and stuff. But they did a similar thing in Gotham with that drug mask thing, and that gave him super strength and stuff. And it was very similar to the Nolan verse, but a little bit more unbelievable. But again, like I think, in all fairness, if anyone can do it, I think it's Reeves. Like, I think he's a very good director. I don't want to see Bane. I don't want to see Bane though. I want to see some characters we know, like the Riddler. With the exception of Jim Carrey, we've never seen the Riddler on the big screen, and so we still haven't, because that was the Zodiac Killer, not the Riddler. But I think it was again for that universe, like that wouldn't fit in forever if it was Tommy Lee Jones and this Riddler.
No.
But I think like as long as they keep going down this route, and like you say, give them more money, and with the reception that it's had an excellent reception in terms of box office and just reviews in general. So I've no doubt Warner Brothers have already signed on for 28 more.
Well, I suppose it's a nice change of pace from what we've gotten so far, which is just sort of like, you know, a fantastical figure fighting a giant CG thing in the dark, like. And considering obviously his whole domain is in the dark, for it to end in the daytime, and like him like helping children getting like lifted out of it, like that to me is just sort of like, are you sure you haven't got like, you know, you've got your pages stuck together and that's like the back end of a Superman script that you've got? Because like that's the sort of thing he'd be doing, rather than, you know, kind of just out in the light and, you know, without being like daytime and cameras and whatever. Like, he doesn't care because he's there to help people, and he wants to be the symbol of like, oh, it's okay when Batman comes, Timmy, don't worry, because he's going to save
us.
It's not that, oh god, it's Batfleck's thing, like he might run you over. Like it depends if he's paying attention. If he's not pissed or on pills or whatever, maybe he'll see you and, you know, kind of dodge out of the way, but
or you'll get branded.
Yeah, or he'll brand you and throw you in prison to get murdered. Like, what?
Because he hasn't killed anyone.
Yeah, that'd be that's just the equivalent of just going, oh no, if you end up getting hit, it's your own fault.
Windmill thing.
Yeah. Fuck's sake.
But that's the same thing with the Bale one, where it's just like, you're gonna have to like break your code, and he's like, I don't have to kill you, but I don't have to save you, and then glides away, and that's the same with the Affleck thing, where Brands was like, I don't need to kill you, but you are going to die when you go into prison. It's like, well, that's still murder.
Yeah, for sure it is. Yeah,
you're an accomplice at least, but
like I couldn't see Spider-Man doing that.
No, I mean I could see Garfield's doing it. But no, I mean obviously there are times when obviously Batman's killed people in the comics. It's not a new thing for him to kill people, but like I say, I think the whole realizing he's a symbol of hope is played out far better in this one than it is in the Nolan version of that story. Mostly because of the fact that when he realizes it, he stops being Batman. You're like, well, that's completely not the point. You a fucking idiot. But yeah. I also know it was also the last one, and it's a way to wrap it up, I suppose. But I do think that given the right amount of money and with enough freedom from studio interaction, I think the second one of this could be better than The Dark Knight. Definitely, 100%. This,
like, all of his broody setup stuff is already done now.
Yeah, we've had an excellent first intro into this Batman we haven't been bogged down with an origin. It's a really cool atmospheric universe. I love like the gothic noir, like almost neo-noir setting in this version of Gotham. I like the characters. I think the casting's excellent, and I honestly, for me, this isn't that far off The Dark Knight, for that to be a first film that's just a massively good feat itself. I think The Dark Knight's a better film, but I like this Batman. I like Pattinson's Batman more, and I like this version. Like the Nolan verse Gotham is just New York.
That I totally agree with. It like that could just be any city.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, it looks like you could smell it. Like you could get off a bus and it's like Gotham, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like just decay and terror.
I think
like that.
I do think that's one of the reasons why I give the Nolan verse a hard time, is because it doesn't seem like everything's so light and like there's no smog and there's no like pollution or anything. It's just an American city, whereas this it fits and it's so well done.
This is not across the river from Metropolis.
No, definitely
not. It is not.
There's
no way.
Did you see the thing that Matt Reeves sent out to the cinemas? And like because of the way he'd shot the film, I forgot what it specifically says, but basically it's like, dear like View or Odeon or whatever it's fucking got. We spent a lot of time getting the perfect colours for this film and how we want it to be seen and how people deserve to see it, and then a set and settings for the projectors of what they need to be on to get the colours that they've done them on. And it's just like I want everyone to see it the way that I made it
or wanted it to be.
And I was just like, I forgot. I think it was Odeon or View that put it up on Twitter, and I was like, that's a cool fucking. That's a director that gives a shit. That is.
I think that's someone who also wants to make a name.
I mean, he already has Planet of the Apes and stuff.
Do you know what? I actually watched War for Planet of the Apes the other day. Was it War that he did, or was it Rise?
Both of them.
He did both, right? Because watching War, the only reason I watched War is because I've watched Dawn and Rise quite a few times. And War, I think I've only seen once, maybe twice before, and it's on Disney Plus now.
Yeah.
Brilliant, obviously. And watching War again, and after it finished, I was like, that was such a good film.
Yeah, it's really good.
Like that was such a good, like, solid action, emotional story. Like, I think I'd just forgotten that like it was as good as it actually is.
I just thought Serkis was in that as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was Caesar.
Yeah, that's another film they've done together.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, at least he's not fucking mocapped this time.
Yeah, maybe he was.
Maybe that's in his contract to be like, look, if we need to do a Killer Croc, or if we need to do some weird CG character, it's you and only you. All right.
What if Andy Serkis doesn't look like Andy Serkis and he's been mocapping the person we think is Andy Serkis?
Wow, that's just like a whole Inception level of mocap. He never gets recognised on the street because he's like an actual CG character.
He's like a real private person, so we'd never know what he looks like.
No, that's a good point. But I think that this is it's something that I cannot wait to watch again.
Yeah.
But it's a very long film, so it's something you kind of need to...
That was one of the only bits
chip out a bit of time.
That ruined it for me, because it didn't feel like a long film until I needed a piss. And then it felt real long.
I think there is a director's cut of this as well, which will have additional footage. And historically, the director's footage, the director release, or the ultimate version, or whatever you want to call it, that tends to include a lot more cool stuff, or things that make something else make a bit more sense, or something like that. So
I know there was I want to say 3 different scenes that they did for that Joker cameo. So that'll definitely have something.
Well, that's the sort of... I want to see that.
I do think they could have shaved about 15 minutes off it.
I disagree. I didn't feel... I didn't need a piss halfway through it, which is probably useful. But I didn't feel like it was as long as it actually was. Like, I didn't feel like, oh God, fucking hell, is this gonna actually get win today? Or something.
It was never like that. It was literally down to the fact that, like, we've got his like 2 hours something, and I was like, I really, I mean, it was my drink was like this fucking big, so like that didn't help. But like, I never go to the toilet during a film because I've paid good money to see this.
I want to see every second.
But I had to go, like, because it got to the point where it was hurting and I couldn't hold it anymore, so I had to run out. And the time myself, I was 3 minutes. Only missed 3 minutes.
Well, then that means that as well as whatever scenes have been cut, if you watch that extended edition, that's an additional 3 minutes that you didn't see before.
That's true. It is true.
That is getting you money's worth.
So I definitely get my money's worth for that. But it, like I say, the only reason I got to the point where I was like, man, this is real long, is because I desperately needed a piss. And prior to that and after that, it just went along nicely. I think for a 3-hour film, it flowed real fucking well. And even like Endgame and stuff don't flow that well. Like, it definitely seems long.
The Snyder cut is that is the biggest culprit of that. Of just like, oh my God, can you just get to the point?
I still want to do what we said when we first watched it, where we take the Snyder cut, we get all of the slow motion bits, and we speed them up to 1.25, so they're back in real time, and see how long the film actually is without the slow motion bits.
I'm 100% sure someone's already done it.
Most likely.
Sure.
Yeah. But like, it's one thing that's not in. I don't think there's any slow motion in this film, which is much welcomed.
No,
even when he comes flying through the fire, it's and lands. It's not like
maybe that's a little bit slowed down. Yeah,
it just comes flying straight out, because then it cuts straight back to Penguin, doesn't it? It's like, I got
you. Yeah, but it's still hovering in the air for a bit.
I think it's just really high.
It wasn't that high. He like did a little jump over a thing.
There's a big ramp on it off the truck.
Yeah, it wasn't like an Evil Knievel ramp though that you'd have to cross a canyon in. He just went. It was just an extended hold. That's all it was. But it didn't feel
that shot
overly...
though. When Penguin's on his roof and it's upside down and he's walking. That shot's. Oh.
There's so many times where they've just done the sound or just the visual cue of just him walking, like an old scary mummy, like just. Oh, I don't know.
Batman 2022. Michael Giacchino.
Well, he's getting hired for the next one.
Excellent.
I can pretty much guarantee that.
I think he did all of the music. Yeah.
I'd be high-fiving people in the street if I was him.
That's my ringtone at the moment. I don't think it will come through.
No, I don't. We also don't care, Callum, because we're wrapping this up.
So we've gone on for an hour and a half now, Dan. So I think it's safe to say we both enjoyed it, and we can't wait to see it again. If you haven't been to the cinema and you do want to see it, in however many days it is from when it was out to when we recorded this, so from what was the date? The 4th?
Yes.
Yeah. So from the 4th, 45 days after that, it's on HBO Max, and I do believe it's more than a cinema ticket.
What
to watch it? I don't think you get to keep it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's quite a bit of an uproar because Warner Brothers are charging quite a lot this time round for these ones. Like
they're trying to recover all the money from the Matrix. That's what they're doing.
Most fucking likely, mate. Most fucking likely. But I'm willing to pay. I'm willing to pay it because I'd like to watch it again.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
massively recommend it. If you are going into this expecting like Ant-Man or something, you're gonna be very disappointed. It's a very different comic book film, but for the better. Me personally, Robert Pattinson is proven that he's not just a sparkly vampire, and I think he's proved a lot of people wrong, Dan, but not us, because we had faith from the beginning.
Yeah, we were burnt before, so we've learned from that mistake.
We know.
The second that I saw that trailer, I was just like, "There's no way that this is gonna like." I'm not gonna come out of that and go, "God, that was terrible. What was I thinking?" Like, I could tell that either they've got a production house that makes trailers, and they've gone, "We filmed nothing of this yet.
Yeah,
this is literally it's like 2 scenes. Make something out of that, please." And then the rest of the film would just be a complete disappointment. Or it was just going to be
great.
That,
which it
just
was
times 3 hours, and it absolutely was. I loved it.
But it's very, very good, very good. Do massively recommend it if you head out to your cinema. Support your local cinema now. COVID's not a thing anymore, and just stay safe. Watch the Batman, and let us know what you thought about it. Did you like Robert Pattinson? Did you prefer Christian Bale? Did you prefer Adam West?
Do you want Chris O'Donnell to come back?
Would you rather Chris O'Donnell come back as? What if he came back as Alfred?
I mean, I don't think Andy Serkis would be too happy about that.
No, pride. No, we didn't get Andy Serkis. What if Andy Serkis?
He's also not like 65.
Neither's Andy Serkis.
I think put some grey in his hair.
Chris O'Donnell's got to be like in his 50s now, hasn't he? He was pushing 30 in fucking Batman and Robin.
Maybe you're right. Time just doesn't mean anything anymore, does it?
Anyway, if you want to see more, you can over to podcastversusplayer.com, where we've got lots more podcast spoiler casts, Let's Plays reviews. There's a new review gone up for this S22 Ultra that went up the other day. And there's some other things coming up, including something that we may do this week, Dan, that we discussed earlier, and we might do it this week. He's forgotten already, so we probably won't do it this week.
I kind of have. What was it?
That's what I'll tell you after.
Right, okay, yeah, sure.
we have got a new thing that we are going to do this week for a new kind of, not really a game show, but it's like a question-y thing. So we'll do that. And a convinced cow we'll do this week as well as it's been requested that we do some more Rocket Ball, not Rocket League. Rocket Ball.
Okay, sure. Oh, also, I watched all of season 5 of Rick and Morty over the weekend. It's great, and I've watched Encanto 3 times, I think now. And every time I watch it, I think I'm enjoying it more and more every time. I've got
The Boys.
I've got the songs on Spotify.
You've watched Despicable yet? The Boys.
Despicable.
The Boys.
Oh, I watched Laser Baby, like the first one. I think that was after I got home from the Batman, so it was already very late as it was. Then I watched that, and I was like, "Oh, that was kind of all right."
It's just
straight to bed.
It's just Love, Death and Robots. Like each episode's a different
it's just like a
style and whatnot. They're all really good. I really enjoyed it. I started it at like 11 o'clock on Friday, and I finished it for like 2 o'clock or something like that, because they're only like 15-minute long episodes. But real good. But we're gonna get out of here, because yet again, much like the Batman, I need a piss. So
yeah,
thanks for joining me.
He always needs a piss.
Always.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, he always needs a wee. It's that suit. And thanks for joining us. And let us know if you guys enjoyed the Batman as well. See you on the next one. Bye.
Callum, you are a police officer. You cannot do that. No, Callum, put the gun away, for God's sake.
Can I lean out the car and shoot?
No. No, Callum.
What if I suspect
end it for you? You cannot do it.
What if I suspect him of doing something?
Fucking listen to me.
Our car is on fire, Dan. Dan, he's
fleeing. They're fleeing, Callum.
He's fleeing.
Get a taser out. Callum, get the taser. Get the taser. Get the taser.
What
Now's
number's
the time.
taser?
Breathe a pistol. Number 2, and then point it right at him. No, I said don't shoot him unless he refuses to stop.
He did refuse.
You can have a look at this car.
That man just littered.
A triangle overhead. There.
Get the fuck here. I'll tase him, Dan.
Oh, he's fleeing.
He's fleeing.
Pull that taser on him. Make him stop. Please freeze.
Freeze.
Oh, he froze. He froze. That's it.
Show me your ID, you fucking scum.
Oh, she's fleeing.
She's fleeing,
Freeze.
Dad. Get
Freeze.
it.
I taste it. I'm not having any of that.
I taste it.